up, you guys? It's Mary.
And
You might just like,
share,
subscribe,
and comment
down below, you guys, because today we are going to be talking about
one of my story times. So I wanted to give this story, the time when I was becoming an alcoholic. Now, I was in college at the time. I had like 3 jobs, right? And I had a job at the hospital. Um, Actually, 2 jobs. I think it was 3 because I think I also worked at McDonald's. Yeah. And then I worked at Ruby Tuesday. Now, when I worked at Ruby Tuesday, there was actually this one, what is a manager who, and I was a waitress at Ruby Tuesday. There was this manager who was always trying to make a like a pass at me, which I found to be really annoying. He was this Caucasian guy, and he was just, always like trying to holler, and I was really not interested at all, at all. Anyhow, still needed to go to work because needed the money. I had 3 jobs, one at the hospital, one at McDonald's, all part-time, and then at Ruby Tuesday. But I think most of my time I spent at Ruby Tuesday. And then one day, I was there and I asked, I don't even know how this started, but I was there with the bartender. Is like, hey, you want a drink? I was like, yeah, yeah. He's like, he can pick you up and all that. And I wasn't really familiar with what kind of drink to have, so I said, well, whatever you make for me, make me something sweet because I just love sweet drinks. And so he made me a fuzzy navel, and I don't even know if people even have that drink now. But he made me this fuzzy navel, and back in those days, Ruby Tuesday had, the bread and the honey butter. You
oh
could
my
dip
god, that was so damn good.
It was so good.
So
So
good.
I will really just go and like after work, once I drank this drink, oh, it was so delicious. It was sweet. I mean, you could barely really taste the alcohol in it, but it did make me feel a little,
Fuzzy.
yeah, fuzzy. Yeah, it was a fuzzy navel for sure. Um, and every time, so it started with that drink, and then before I left after work, I will have this drink. When I came to work in the afternoon, I'll come a little early and I have this drink. When I leave, I will have this drink with the bread and the honey butter. And then it got to a point where days that I wouldn't be working, I started having like a dry mouth.
Yeah.
And it's like I couldn't wait until God Ruby Tuesday doesn't open up in the morning, it opens up in the afternoon. Around lunchtime. So I couldn't wait till 11 o'clock in the morning came so that I could get there and go have this drink. And I just knew that I just needed that. It almost became like, how people will see coffee, and I really didn't even realize that I was having a problem, but 11 o'clock I'll be there. I will have this drink. It got to a point that I started even going when I was not at work. Because before I was just having the drink when I'm at work in the morning, before I start, and then at night when I leave. But it got to a point where McDonald's was not that far from Ruby Tuesday. So the days I had to go to McDonald's, oh, let me pass by and get me a fuzzy navel right quick.
Yeah.
And then the days that I was in the hospital, it was so hard for me because I'm like, I really need to go get the fuzzy navel. My hands were, like I became very restless, and I'm not a restless person like that.
Yeah.
So one day, my mouth was so dry, and I was like, I gotta go get me this Ruby. I gotta get to Ruby Tuesday. I just have to get there. And something just went in my mind, like you begin to sound like an addict. Like I was talking to myself. You sound like an addict. No, 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 no. I'm not an addict. I mean, but even that day, as I was going to Ruby Tuesday, and I went and I was like, I told the bartender, I was like, yeah, is that all the same? Um, no, no, no. I don't need. Just give me a Coke, like a cherry Coke. They made it with a grenadine. And are you sure? Yeah, 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 yeah. Because I wanted to see, can I do without it? I couldn't. I could not do without that. By the time that, I was drinking the Coke, I'm like, I needed something more. I needed the fuzzy navel. So I ordered the fuzzy navel. So now in my mind, since I had thought about this little addiction, I was like, okay, I think I am actually addicted or getting there very, very quickly. But when I left, it was clear to me that I was addicted to this fuzzy navel,
Yeah.
and I was on a fast track to become an alcoholic. And then I remembered, like, my family, we have, and it's something that has always been said, we have a problem with addiction. We are, and I tell my children this all the time too, don't even start drinking.
Yeah.
Don't even start smoking because it's very hard to get off of it. We have a family history where we get addicted to stuff very easily. And it's very hard for us to get off of it. So, knowing that family history and knowing that I was becoming addicted and I was now addicted to fuzzy navel, I was like, okay, I need to stop cold. Like, I have got to stop.
Yeah.
I just have to stop. And once I made that decision, thank goodness, the next time I came to work, this manager who had been trying to get me to date him was like really, he came to me and says, you do not put the condiments right on the stuff. When we take out our trays, some things we put a little parsley, some things, I don't know, a little bit of ginger or whatever. He's trying to tell me I don't do these condiments right. And I'm like, look, I do them right. Okay, maybe sometimes I miss them, but like, what are you trying to say? Well, you know how I feel about you. So I'm like, is this about condiments? Or are you trying to insinuate? And I just called him out on his stuff. Are you trying to insinuate that I got to be with you? Or you're going to let me go because of some condiments?
Or he was probably
He
hoping
was
that
like,
he could put
I'm
on
not-
a condom
I'm-
and be with you.
Woo! Child, probably. Not even probably.
Condiments.
That's really what he was trying to do.
Maybe he would.
But I was just like, I said, something? I said, so what are you trying to say? Because I'm never going to be with you. That's what you have to understand. I'm just not. Like, you're not, like, I don't look at you in that way. I didn't want to say I'm like really not attracted to you at all. I didn't want to be mean.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're young, you don't really want to be really mean to people.
Listen, I really don't even like
And
confrontation.
the fact that now you're like making this into something makes you look really unattractive also again to me. But I didn't say all of that. I was just like, so I mean, I'm not going to be with you.
Yeah.
So I don't know what this is about. Well, he was stuttering. I'm gonna have to let you go. Okay, so I didn't even bother to clock in. I mean, he's like, you can finish out your shift. I'm like, no, you're letting me go because I think he wanted me to finish out my shift. Because maybe I will shift my stance.
Well, so he can maybe harass you a little bit more.
You know what I'm
or
saying?
he wanted to put out a feeler. Or is she really that desperate to fill out her shift?
Yeah.
Because maybe while she's doing her shift, I can come and harass you a little bit more.
Yeah, and I was just like, no. I'm not going to finish out my shift. Took up the apron, gave that fool, and I was just like, no, I got to go. So yeah, that's what happened. So that was, I was upset. I went home, I was crying because I'd never been fired before.
Well, I mean,
So
really, it's
I
not a
was-
firing. It's some pervert
Yeah.
who wanted you at the job and
Yeah.
decided to let you
But,
go because he was your boss. He
at
was trying to
that-
flex on you. So
I
it really
know.
wasn't even a firing. It was
But at
about
that
to become a
age,
sexual harassment
I
for
know.
real.
But at that age of 20, and back in those days, they weren't really talking about sexual harassment like that. That was not, I don't even know if that was even a thing that people even mentioned.
Condiments, condiments.
Those of you who are Generation Xers, like, do you remember, I don't know, 30 years ago? Because I was like 21. But yeah, this happened like when I was like 20 years old. And I was just like, it was really a saving grace because that night I cried so much.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I lost a job. I cannot believe I got fired, you know? But then I was like, one, I was working way too much. 3 jobs, that was too much.
Yeah.
But then I also looked at it as, this has just been God's saving grace.
Yeah, probably.
Because, like, I was an alcoholic for real. The next day was very, very hard for me. And I actually just called in to McDonald's. I also called into the hospital, each for 2 days straight. So I just stayed out of work for like 4 days total in those places just because I was having this dry mouth.
Yeah.
It felt like cotton mouth. And I was just like, man, you were really addicted to alcohol. You were addicted. You were, And can you imagine if I had said yes to that guy, and I would have hated myself and probably gone more into the addiction.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just to
Yeah.
kind of get through being with him, But God was really watching out for me. It was just like, no.
This is not your story, madam.
This is, yeah. But yeah, that's my alcohol story, my alcoholic story. And I'm so grateful about that. But it was very hard just trying to nip that in the bud. Those 4 days were very hard. I stayed at home. I read my romance novel. I tossed and turned. I drank a lot of chamomile tea. And I don't know what was in the chamomile tea. I don't know if chamomile tea, but for me, and I'm not even like a tea drinker like that. My mom is a tea drinker, but I'm not a tea drinker like that. I'm not a coffee drinker either. But I remember drinking a lot of chamomile. I think in those 4 days I finished a whole box of chamomile tea. Anytime I felt that urge, I will take my time and I'll make this chamomile tea, put some sugar or some honey in, and I'll drink that. And that just kind of soothed me. And after that, I was fine, but it always makes me cautious, super duper cautious. It always makes me super, super duper cautious about, and humbles me in a way.
Yeah.
That I'm telling you, when people get up and they're alcoholics or drug addicts, I know how that shit can creep the hell on you.
Yeah.
To the point that you don't even recognize yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
I, as a college student, was leaving home to go stand at Ruby Tuesday's door. So when they open, I level up inside there so my mouth can be wet and not dry. For some damn false and evil. Ain't got no damn sense. Whew. So I understand. So that was my alcoholic story. I don't even know why we were talking about that in the last video.
We were talking about Love After Lock with those two druggies, those two ex-druggies who were getting into it.
And I was functioning. Like I said, I had 3 jobs.
I mean, it's possible.
Smiling as though everything is great.
Yeah.
So nobody can really see the sign that I'm an alcoholic. It's what it is. So
yeah.
Yeah, I applaud anyone who's able to beat it, and like I told my kids, I was just like, listen, our family doesn't do well with these kinds of things. Stay away. And I told you guys my alcoholic story because you just have to understand this stuff can creep the hell on you all.
Yeah.
That by the time you blink, you don't even recognize who you are.
Yeah.
So that's my alcoholic story. Thanks for listening to that. And you guys, hey, get down in the comments and let me know what you guys have beaten and and all that kind of stuff.
And what other stories you would like to hear from Amma. But it's Mary.
And
leave a like,
share,
subscribe,
and comment
down below.
Bye.
Bye.